Some see faces, you see spirits behind smiles. You don't know when it started, this sense that people's words said one thing, but something deeper was speaking underneath. You've walked into rooms that looked calm, only to feel your stomach tighten. Sat through conversations that felt friendly, but left you with a residue you couldn't shake. And for years you told yourself to ignore it. Be nice, be polite, be normal. But the truth is, you were never made for normal. Because when others hear opinions, you hear intentions. When they see influence, you see infiltration. When they chase charisma, you discern contamination. It's lonely, isn't it? To see the snake in the garden while everyone else is still admiring the flowers. To recognize the witch in the pews while others only see a worshipper. And yet you say nothing. You stay silent. Because how do you explain what even you barely understand? It's not paranoia, it's not fear, it's not judgment, it's a gift. A gift that isolates, a gift that costs, a gift that most of the church doesn't know how to handle. So they mishandle you. You've been told you're too intense, too sensitive, too suspicious. But you know better. You see through smiles like stained glass. You hear lies buried in laughter. You sense deception under the disguise of kindness. You weren't given this for no reason. You were trusted with it, marked by it, hunted because of it. And the older you get, the stronger it becomes. Even when you try to shut it off, it wakes you in the middle of the night. It burdens you during prayer. It speaks when no one else will. You know what I'm talking about. That unshakable knowing. The kind that won't let you play along anymore. That pulls you out of circles. That ruins your taste for shallow conversations and counterfeit Christians. You didn't ask for this, but it's yours. And heaven is watching to see what you'll do with it. If this is you, and you're still not subscribed, ask yourself, what are you running from? The truth? Your own calling? Or the weight of knowing too much? If you still refuse, tell us why in the comments. Say it out loud. We'll listen. You are not too sensitive. You are spiritually wired. You are not overthinking. You are overhearing. Conversations in the spirit that others pretend don't exist. You are not paranoid. You are anointed. Anointed to see what others ignore, to feel what others dismiss, to notice what others call nothing. You are a watchman, but not one dressed in gold and standing on high towers. You are an unmasked watchman, the kind heaven trusts to walk through crowds unnoticed, discerning spirits while smiling in silence, reading hearts without needing words. There is a reason you've always felt the weight of moments others laugh through. Why the jokes never land the same for you. Why the atmosphere in churches and homes affects you more than it should. It's because you don't live on the surface. You never did. You were never called to blend in with the blind. You were born to see, and not just sight for today. You were given vision for what's ahead, clarity when culture confuses, and fire when others freeze. You were chosen, marked, set apart, and yes. That means people have misunderstood you. Friends left you. Leaders questioned you. But heaven never did. Heaven has watched every moment you questioned your sanity and called it maturity. Every tear you wept alone after sensing what others dismissed, heaven saw it and wrote it down. You walk with an unseen weight, a holy discomfort, because your calling doesn't fit in casual faith. You were born for blurred times like these, to see when others are seduced, to feel when others are numb, to warn when others are celebrating danger. You aren't late to your purpose. You're right on time for your assignment. The veil is thinning, and God needs those who don't fall for the masquerade. He needs those who see through the makeup of ministry and the costume of charisma. He needs those who can smell the counterfeit even when it's cloaked in Scripture. You are not too much. You are exactly enough for what He's called you to confront, and the hour is late. To those who know they were born to see through darkness, subscribe now. If you won't, then tell us in the comments, what stops a seer from standing up? You were labeled judgmental because you couldn't pretend. Because while others clapped, you cringed. While others said, Amen, something in your spirit whispered, this isn't right. They told you, don't be so critical, but what they called criticism was your clarity sounding the alarm. They didn't understand you weren't trying to judge, you were trying to warn. But discernment, it rarely wins popularity contests. You saw the crack behind the charisma. You felt the chill behind the charm. You knew something was off, but no one wanted to hear it. So you stayed silent. And in that silence, the trap began to tighten. Isolation. Not the kind that's obvious, the kind that comes from knowing too much, seeing too clearly, feeling too deeply. You sit in rooms and hear what no one else hears. You walk into churches and sense what others ignore, and slowly, invisibly, the gift that opened your eyes closed every door. You find yourself shrinking, not because you lack boldness, but because you've been burned by misunderstanding. It's a lonely road when your sight makes others squint. Then comes the next trap, the counterfeit confirmation. Yes, even demons speak in tongues. Even darkness knows how to mimic destiny. And when you're desperate to belong, even deception can sound like divine direction. Be careful. Just because a door opens doesn't mean heaven unlocked it. There are voices, smooth, eloquent, persuasive, that know exactly what you want to hear. Be warned. Confirmation is not always conviction. Sometimes it's camouflage. The enemy doesn't just come with a pitchfork, he comes with prophecy. He comes dressed as everything you prayed for, so that you won't pray anymore. But discernment isn't just about spotting demons. It's also about remembering the fruit of the Spirit. Because if you're not careful, you begin to see through everyone, but not love anyone. You start to overcorrect, reading every word, tone, and gesture until you forget that love covers, even as it sees. The final trap is the quietest one, the most dangerous. Exhaustion. Not physical, spiritual. The weariness of always being on, always sensing, always guarding, always praying, always filtering rooms, conversations, people. You've become a gate with no off switch. But discernment was never meant to be a prison. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to lay down and not scan the ceiling for signs. You are allowed to exhale and let God be God. This gift was never about being a spiritual detective. It was about being a surrendered vessel. You don't have to carry the full weight of truth alone. You were never meant to. If this section called out your silent battles and you're still not subscribed, are you hiding your own gift? Testify or explain your resistance below. You weren't made to blend in. You weren't born to simply take up space. You were born to guard gates, not just walk through open doors. There is a weight to your awareness, a burden to your insight. That ache you carry, that stirring that won't let you sleep, it's not oversensitivity, it's spiritual strategy. Heaven wired you like this, on purpose. You see before others see, you sense before others speak. You weep when others laugh because you hear the trembling beneath the surface. Daniel wasn't just a dream interpreter, he was a divine ambassador in a pagan court, positioned where compromise was currency, but conviction was his compass. He read the writing on the wall while others toasted their gods with stolen goblets. Joseph wasn't just a prisoner turned prince. He was a prophetic economist. He felt famine before it came. He stewarded surplus for a future no one saw. And when Pharaoh had a dream that made his soul tremble, it was Joseph who translated heaven's whispers. Esther didn't just win a beauty pageant. She discerned death hiding behind legislation. She stood between genocide and a nation, because she heard something in the king's silence that others would have missed. And when the time came, she didn't run from the palace door. She walked through it like a warrior cloaked in grace. That same spirit rests on you. This isn't weakness. This isn't emotional fragility. This is weaponry. This is kingdom intelligence. This is the oil that burns when others run dry. You've been through enough to trust what you feel. Your experiences weren't wasted. They were training. Every betrayal taught you how to scan hearts. Every delay taught you how to sense timing. Every wrong room refined your radar, that gut feeling, that unexplainable pull, that hesitation in the middle of a conversation. That's not paranoia, that's presence. That's spiritual muscle memory built through bruises and breakthroughs. You carry what most ignore. You perceive what many suppress. You've got fire in your bones, but you've been scared to let it burn. Afraid you'll be misunderstood. Afraid you'll be too much. Afraid they'll say you're deep or extra or always making it spiritual. But what if it is always spiritual? What if your sight is the shield someone else needs? What if your warning is the delay that saves a destiny? What if your yes ignites someone else's freedom? You were never called to shrink for comfort. You were called to stand for clarity, and it's time to stand, fully, boldly, without apology, because your silence won't satisfy the burden. Your comfort won't cancel the call. You carry fire in your bones, still watching silently, still sitting on that flame. Then answer this. What fire are you afraid of feeding? You do not need to explain your silence. You do not need to justify your distance. You do not owe access to everyone who once had it. Permission granted, say no, without apology, without overthinking, without writing essays in your head to convince people why your soul needs rest. You have tried being everything to everyone. You have tried keeping doors open that God quietly shut. And now you're tired, not just physically, spiritually, emotionally, prophetically, because carrying revelation in a room full of noise will always leave you drained. That's not pride, that's stewardship. You weren't made for crowded circles. You weren't built for endless conversation. You are called to depth, not drama, to truth, not trending, to presence, not performance. Embrace the quiet, embrace the fewer, because not everyone can carry what you see. Not everyone will understand the burden. Not everyone will honor the oil. And so, guard your oil, like the wise virgins who kept extra for midnight. Not everyone gets access. Not everyone gets your late-night prayers. Not everyone gets your unfiltered dreams. Not everyone gets to touch what heaven is shaping in you. This isn't being hard. This isn't being cold. This is being consecrated. You cannot live poured out and keep handing your cup to those who only drink but never fill. Boundaries are not walls of rejection. They are gates of protection. They are war strategies. They are intercessor instincts. You don't build boundaries to be distant. You build them to remain disciplined. Because where there are no boundaries, there is confusion. And confusion is the breeding ground for compromise. And let's be honest, you've seen what happens when you stop guarding, when you try to be more relatable than righteous, when you let your consecration slip in the name of connection. What looked like compassion turned into chaos. What felt like empathy ended in entanglement. But there's a shift happening. You can feel it. Heaven is drawing lines in the sand. And you know, deep down, you were never called to blend into Babylon. You were called to confront it by simply refusing to bow. It's going to take courage now. Not charisma, not networking, not pretending to be okay when you're not. It's going to take consecration to stand when others bend, to hold when others fold, to say, this far and no more. When others are still justifying open doors, you will be misunderstood, you will be questioned. You will be called names, but you will also be anchored, rooted, kept, covered, because obedience has a fragrance, and even hell can smell it. So if you've been shrinking your circle just to survive, just to stay sane, just to stay pure, this space is for you. Subscribe to join a remnant, because wide gates lead to noise, but narrow roads lead to glory. And if you're not ready, let the comments carry your confusion. But don't pretend it's peace. There's something you carry that didn't start with you. And it certainly won't end with you. This burden, this discernment, this deep stirring in your spirit that wakes you in the night and silences you in the crowd. It's not random. It's ancestral. It's prophetic. It's generational. What you sense now may be the very thing that saves your children later. That unease you feel when everyone else is celebrating, that's not anxiety. That's early warning. That's spiritual radar. That's heaven sounding the alarm in your soul. You're not just sensitive to moments. You're tuned to movements. And what you obey in secret will shape what your lineage walks in publicly. Your yes is not just survival. It's strategy. Your yes echoes into eternity. Because when you say yes to purity, you're clearing paths your grandchildren won't have to fight to find. When you say yes to boundaries, you're breaking patterns that tried to live in your bloodline. When you say yes to calling, you're exposing every counterfeit that hoped to deceive your seed. This is not just about you, and deep down, you already know that. Discernment is not just a gift. It's not just insight. It's inheritance. Every time you saw something and stayed silent, heaven recorded it. Every time you stood in prayer when no one else knew the battle, angels bore witness. Every time you carried a burden you couldn't explain, your spirit was planting prophetic seed. You think you're just tired, but really, you're pregnant, with destiny, with answers, with blueprints your lineage will need. Your instincts are not overreactions. They are alarms from the future. They are echoes from tomorrow sent back to protect your now. You don't get to play small anymore, because every time you shrink, your seed pays the price. So no, this isn't just your burden. This is your legacy. And legacy always begins in silence, in a private yes, in a hidden fast, in an unseen decision to walk away from what's popular so your children don't have to fight what you refuse to kill. You've been chosen to interrupt patterns, to reset atmospheres, to guard gates you didn't even know were open. You are not just discerning, you are designing destiny. You are building altars with your obedience. You are mapping out safety for generations who will never know your name, but will live in the peace you fought for. You are a living prophecy, and your silence would be disobedience. So if you know, without a doubt, this isn't just about you, if you feel the weight of legacy pressing on your chest, if you've ever wept for children not yet born, then you already know what to do. Subscribe. Join this remnant. Let the fire of obedience light the way for others. And if you still think your discernment stops with you, then prove it in the comments. Say it loud, let your words stand before heaven, it ends with me, because if you won't carry it, someone else will have to. 1. You sense atmospheres. Instantly. You don't need words, you don't need backstory. You walk into a room and the air tells you everything. What others call a bad vibe, you know as spiritual tension, invisible warfare, unspoken heaviness, and it wraps around your spirit like a weighted cloak, pulling your attention, your energy, your intercession. Before a word is spoken, before a hand is shaken, you've already discerned what's alive and what's pretending to be. You weren't being dramatic. You were being drawn. Your spirit was picking up what others silenced in themselves, and if this one hit deep and you're still not subscribed, what are you afraid of confronting? Say it out loud, in the comments. 2. People confess to you without prompting. They don't know why. You didn't ask. You didn't even look interested. But suddenly, they're weeping, talking, spilling secrets they've kept for years. Their spirit recognizes the judge in you, not to condemn, but to cleanse. You carry courtroom weight, the kind that makes lies fall apart, the kind that makes masks itch and fall off. You've never needed a pulpit. Your presence is enough. The Holy Spirit rides in on your silence and turns everyday moments into altar calls. And still, you think this is just empathy? No, this is divine courtroom access. And if it resonates, but you're watching in silence, what confrontation are you dodging? Confess it below. 3. You dream symbolically or prophetically when your body sleeps. Your spirit gets louder. You've always known. Dreams have never been random for you. You see colors that speak, numbers that shout, storms that carry messages, weddings that carry warnings, rooms that mean more than walls and windows. God bypasses your busy thoughts and slips into your sleep, where your guard is down, but your spirit is wide awake. Your bed becomes a battlefield, your dreams, scrolls. And when you wake, you carry the weight of things not yet spoken. Some don't believe you, others mock it. But heaven keeps speaking anyway, because you were born to decode what others ignore. If that's you, and you've stayed quiet, why hold back what God keeps revealing? Speak it out. Say it in the comments. 4. You feel spiritual fatigue after socializing. You didn't just get tired, you got drained. Not from the noise, not from the people, but from what your spirit was forced to scan. Every room you enter, you subconsciously read the pain, the pretenses, the perversions, layer by layer. And while others were laughing, you were discerning. Smiles don't fool you. Status doesn't blind you. You were detecting what wasn't being said. And that kind of work? It wears down your soul. People say you're too intense. You say nothing. Because how do you explain that being in public often feels like war? If this is you, and you've kept that pain private, then tell us, why are you still trying to deny what you carry? 5. You instinctively grieve without context. You feel something shift, but you can't name it yet. You mourn before the obituary is written. You groan before the announcement is made. People call it melancholy, but you know better. It's a burden. It's a signal. It's heaven sharing secrets before they hit the earth. You feel death, not always physically, but spiritually. Death of seasons. Death of purity. Death of relationships before they rot on the outside. You've cried in rooms where no one else could feel what you felt. You've wept at news no one else had heard. Because your grief wasn't triggered by facts. It was triggered by truth, by prophecy, by eternity, bleeding through time. And if this one made your spirit stir, yet your subscription is still silent, ask yourself, are you afraid of letting others know how deep you really feel? 6. False people make you physically uncomfortable. It's not personality clash, it's not mood swings, it's discernment in your body, spiritual allergy. You feel a revulsion no logic can explain. Their words sound sweet, their intentions seem pure, but your stomach turns, your chest tightens, you can't settle. You try to override it, you smile, you nod, you play along. But your spirit won't, because truth recognizes deception, and it refuses to get comfortable in counterfeit company. This is not drama. This is spiritual intelligence. Your body is partnering with your anointing, rejecting what heaven didn't send. If this one punched through your past encounters, if you've ever walked away from a handshake and felt sick, then stop acting like you're imagining things. Confirm it below. 7. You know things you shouldn't know. You can't explain how you know, you just know. Before evidence, before proof, before confirmation, you know who to trust and who not to. You know what's about to collapse, even when others are still celebrating it. You know what someone's battling, even if they've mastered the performance. And often, you carry this intel in complete silence. You've sat in rooms with knowledge that could shake foundations, but said nothing, because wisdom told you, wait, pray, watch. God has trusted you with top-level access, not for gossip, but for guardianship. You are a vault, a living safe full of divine downloads, and your knowing is not arrogance, it's assignment. If this pierced you, and you're still not aligned with this space, ask yourself, what are you really afraid of? That people will see what you see, or that they'll start expecting you to say it out loud? Let us know, because a gift unacknowledged is a war unprepared for. You just heard the 7 signs, not 7 theories, not guesses, but evidence of a sacred gift many carry, but few embrace. You're not paranoid, you're not crazy, you're not imagining things, you're discerning, and that changes everything. You are not strange, you are not a misfit, you are not a mistake in the grand design of God's kingdom. You are selected, chosen before the foundations of the earth, anointed for a time such as this. The burden you carry, the weight that feels heavy on your soul, is not a curse, it is proof. Proof that God has entrusted you with a vision, a clarity beyond the eyes of the ordinary. This is your sacred charge, your divine appointment, and it is urgent. Don't bury your discernment beneath layers of silence. Don't let your spiritual sight be muted by fear or doubt. You were born to see through the fog, to stand guard when others stumble in sleep, to carry a light when the world demands darkness. Let your eyes stay open, even when the world says close them. Let your no sanctify your future, breaking chains of compromise and paving a path of holiness. Roar until your final breath, proclaiming truth with unwavering courage, waging war against deception, and standing unshaken in your God-given authority. This is not the time to hide. This is the time to rise. If you made it this far, if you felt the fire burning inside and still won't subscribe, then tell us. What part of your calling are you rejecting and why? Speak it out. Because your silence is not safety. It's surrender. Rise now. This is your war cry.